Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Tuesday, April 6, 2021. Baylor Bears are your NCAA men's basketball champions, and Barry Alvarez hangs it up after 30 years with the Badgers.
Congrats, Barry. Today's the big one.
There goes that man's jock strap. Oh my God, did you see that?
America's team? Yeah, right.
Oh, baby, it's a big day in sports.
There's nothing like battling it out with your teammates all season long to go win a championship.
Green Bay's got it this year.
Huge move for them. I think it's going to be a game changer.
We have a lot to talk about this busy week in the sports world. Welcome to the In a League of Their Own podcast.
Hey, man, how's it going today? Did you happen to catch that game last night?
Yeah, that was a crazy game. Kind of didn't go the way we thought it would with Gonzaga not getting their perfect season, but still a good game wire to wire.
Yeah, definitely. You could definitely tell Baylor came out and knew that they were the better team. So what did they go on, a 9-0 run to start the game? It was 9-zip, and I want to say I think that was the closest it got the rest of the night. Was it 9 points?
Yeah, otherwise, they got down to 10 at the half, and then it was between 15 and 19 basically the whole game. It was 29-10 at one point too in the beginning, for like 5 minutes in.
Yeah, Baylor definitely deserved to win that championship, especially the way that they came out and played yesterday. Hats off to them. They deserve it. Just goes to show all these teams that come in with that perfect record seem to fall short and can't get it done. It's a lot of extra added pressure that I don't know if that's just what it was, whether they used all their effort to beat UCLA to even get to the finals, where they just didn't have enough gas, because Baylor outran them up and down the court, out-rebounded them by like 19 or something like that. So you could just tell that they were running at about 80% and not at their full 100% from what we've seen basically all tournament long, and how they've beat everybody pretty much by double digits. How everybody said, are we potentially watching the greatest college basketball team of all time? And that'll always be up for debate now, as no team who's been undefeated like that has ever won it. So again, hats off to Baylor. That was amazing. That was an amazing game to watch. Like, I think everybody in the first 10 minutes kind of like, Baylor gave Gonzaga a dose of their own medicine, like what they'd done to teams, where it's like in the first couple minutes it's game over. Mm-hmm. Baylor came out and smacked them right in the mouth and did basically the same thing to them.
Yeah, Baylor's in control the whole game. I know we were kind of texting back and forth during the game, and I just kept saying, God, Gonzaga looks like shit. There's a lot of time left and stuff like that, but it's like in college basketball, you start to do the math where they're down 20 points. There's only 9 minutes left in the game, so at most there's going to be 18 possessions. If they split that, that's 9 possessions. To go out and get 20 points out of 9 possessions, you only really got 1 or 2 possessions that you can afford to not go down and score points. And down the stretch, Gonzaga just couldn't get anything they couldn't really get anything to fall. Kind of like you said throughout the tournament, they're just bowling everybody early in the shot clock, go down, make a couple passes, boom, down to Timmy in the paint, easy 2. Where last night they were getting late in the shot clock. There was a couple shot clock violations where they couldn't even get a shot off. Baylor's just flying all over the court. They're playing Jim Nantz was talking last night. He's like, it's crazy that Baylor runs a zone defense, but it looks like they're running man because everybody just covers each other's slack and everybody's all over the court, that it looks like they're playing man, but their zone is just so good that anytime they tried to kick it out to 3, it was contested and either the shot would come up short or they couldn't take the shot at all. And then when they tried to get it down in the paint, he had 2 guys in his face and he didn't have a good look. So, yeah, like you said, hats off to Baylor. Obviously, it would have been great to see a team make a perfect run, but we're also talking about how young that team is and how they're built to run it back next year and try to go for it again. Depends on who they all have coming back. If some players are in their final season, so they either graduate or declare for the NBA draft, whatever it might be. But yeah, for the most part, they got a lot of guys coming back that they could do it again if they all decide to stay.
Well, and even if this is their last year, they have that opt-out year where they can come back no matter what and get another free year of basketball and just playing basketball if that's what they want to do.
Hmm.
So it's interesting, like you said, does Gonzaga come back? Do they try to run it back and be undefeated the whole thing? Or now does Baylor, do they try to run the whole thing next year and go undefeated? Because hearing their coach talk last night, he basically said if it weren't for COVID, if it weren't for a couple people missing a couple of their games that they did lose, it would have been two undefeated teams meeting on a clash course at the end, and one was going to be undefeated. So very interesting to hear what their coach had to say, and it was pretty neat too. They showed his video from when he took the coaching job at Baylor in 2003 of him saying how I didn't come here to just get to the NCAA tournament. I came here to win games at the NCAA tournament and win a championship. And 18 years later, boom, you got it, man. So that's awesome to see that come true, and a lot of hard work. A lot of hard work. And he did have a great group of guys. They had like 8
Hmm.
guys. We were talking about this last night. They got like 8 guys that all play starting minutes. They just rotate, and they're fresh the whole time. Where Timmy was, I don't know if that was his hip, because he did go out for his hip. They said his hip,
Yeah,
but he wasn't right. You could tell all game long he was kind of slow up and down the court. He wasn't really jumping, making some of his. You could tell something was bothering him.
yeah. Which, I mean, it sucks when you get to the biggest game of the year and you're fighting an injury, um, but at
Got
the
to try to
same
win the
time,
ship, dude.
yeah,
You have to try to get that undefeated season. You're one game away.
hmm but at the same time, it doesn't all fall on him. You have to, like, look at Baylor, for instance. Like we said, there's 8 guys that share starting minutes. Gonzaga, and like kind of looking at it, Timmy is kind of their Achilles heel, where if he was not in, their production goes way down. Um, you can't have that against the Baylor team where you have 8 guys who are all starters essentially, and then you look at Gonzaga and they're like, oh, our main guy's out, now we're shit. It's like you can't have that. You got to have guys step up on your bench. And kind of looking throughout the tournament, they did have some good productivity off of their bench here and there, but also those are against lower seeded teams who are just happy to be in the tournament. So, I mean, obviously it was in the on Saturday. It was nice to see UCLA go toe to toe with Gonzaga, um, but again, it goes to show that great teams, when they face another like great team, sometimes they crumble because they're just not used to that kind of competition. Where Baylor, no matter who they've played throughout the whole tournament, they've come with the same intensity, whether they're playing like in the second round against Wisconsin, how they just dominated wire to wire, and then on Saturday against Houston, dominated as well. So it, it it's just like you said, Baylor came out and wanted it more, and now they're national champions.
Yeah, they did have a lot of turnovers. Gonzaga had a lot of turnovers yesterday because that Baylor defense. I don't think I've ever seen a defense played that well on the floor. Like, they were everywhere, like in your face all game long. Like, and like I go back to say, like what I think I said originally is you could tell from the tip of the basketball how fired up and how much energy Baylor was bringing. It wasn't a match.
No, it was yeah. Well, I mean, like we were saying in the beginning, at the night when Baylor started the game on a 9-0 run, that was the closest the game had ever been. I can't remember what year it was, but it was the first time in quite a few years that one team led wire to wire. Gonzaga never led that game either. They were always down, and down by double digits mostly too. So, um, yeah, we'll see what
Yes,
happens next year.
absolutely. And then sticking with NCAA, big news: Barry Alvarez is retiring, hanging it up after 30 long seasons with the Badgers as their football coach, and then most recently as their athletic director. His press conference should have been live roughly about an hour ago. I think they said 12:30 is when he was going to be doing that down at the university. Shout out to Barry. I've got to meet you a couple times. Great guy. I don't obviously know you on any like personal level or anything like that, but just watching what you do, you really made Wisconsin sports relevant and good all across the board with like pretty much all of our sports. So great job and congratulations. Hope you have a great retirement.
Yeah, like you said, you kind of put Wisconsin back on the map as far as their football. Their football is kind of a laughing stock. 80s and 90s, and in the 2000s they finally became relevant.
Until they got Ron Dane.
Mm-hmm. And then yeah, basketball program, women's volleyball,
Women's
men and women's hockey. Just again,
I do think our
whoever's
rowing
taking
program's even pretty good.
mm-hmm. Whoever's taking this spot, you got some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, just a quick shout out to Barry.
I don't know if I have any. That's kind of it for NCAA.
Yeah, college sports is kind of wrapped up at this point. I mean, some of the sports that aren't as big, like volleyball, baseball, softball, all of those are going on, I believe. No one really pays attention to those sports. I feel like if we'd waste time and talk about that, I feel like our viewers would go down. So if you want to check out any of those sports, feel free to go check that out. I just don't feel like it's worthy of having here on the show. Just because it's not like there is a professional softball league, but it's not like it's aired on TV and everybody knows who these people are, like college football, stuff. So if you're a viewer, I hope you can understand that.
Yeah. Switching over to baseball. Again, season kind of getting underway here. A couple things going on. One being that the MLB announced that they're moving the All-Star festivities to Coors Field in Denver. For those who are kind of following that developing story, MLB removed the game from Atlanta after Georgia passed a voting law that suppresses black voters. So MLB obviously made a good move there, saying they wanted no part in that.
Doing that, that's a good move on their part to move that over there. It's good to see them being involved and staying on that, how these sports leagues and how everybody here in the United States, I could say for the most part, wants equality for everyone. So props to the MLB for doing that and doing that really quick as well. Like, I feel like that only took a couple days to find a new location and get all that squared away. So shout out to the MLB for doing that really quick. And then breaking news, probably roughly about 45 minutes ago to an hour ago, the Milwaukee Brewers traded Orlando Arcia to the Atlanta Braves for 2 relief pitchers, Chad Sabatka and Patrick Weigel. Arcia 1 for 11 on the year so far this year. He's kind of been all over the place. I think it was a good move. Let him go. We're getting some pitchers. I want to say they're 25 and 27 years old, or 26 and 27. So we got some young guys who we can definitely develop, and it's always good to have pitching early in the season to get through the 162 because some guys get gassed, people get hurt. So I feel like it's good that we did that, and maybe we can turn this 3-game skid that we're on around.
Yeah, I mean, it's early in the season, so really you could not watch a single baseball game until after the All-Star break to kind of figure out who's hot, who's not relevant this year, stuff like that. Obviously, baseball's back, so it's fun to watch regardless. But these early games, because they're back to a full season, they don't have a lot of weight to them, kind of like they did more or less last season when they had a shortened season where basically one game equaled like 6 games. So then those games kind of mean a lot more. But Yeah, we'll see how it works out for them. Obviously, I can't remember his name, but they had a pitcher during spring training go down. He's on the injury list, so it's good for them to go out and get a couple guys to replace him. Um, Brewers bullpen has always been kind of the Achilles heel of that team. They always have somebody who's a a Golden Glove winner, or not always, but in the running, get like Lorenzo Cain or Yelich in the outfield, and then obviously Yelich at bats, and then a couple young guys, even like Hira, he's kind of starting to stand out after he got the call up last year. So um, kind of everywhere else they got some guys falling into place, and the pitchers are kind of that point that they always need to work on. More or less the relief pitchers. They have a couple good starters, but yeah, we'll see how it works out. Hopefully, those guys can get some pitches in soon and see how they mesh with the rest of the team.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hopefully the Brewers can make a run and maybe win the division this year.
Yeah, losing to the Cubs first game wasn't a good start, but like I said, it's a long season. They should play today, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I think
6:40.
6:05. Oh, 6:40.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. So hopefully they can at least get one, if not two games out of the series.
Yeah, and then sticking with Wisconsin sports here, our quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, also known as A-Rod, he was first episode last night of Jeopardy aired. I didn't have a chance to catch that, but I did talk to a few people who did. Said it was awesome. Said he should be the host full time and do this continually. I know we both talked about briefly before we got on the podcast here on how he's came back and said he'd love to do it full time. If he could do it. I know Instagram Live last night is where he was quoted saying something along the lines of he did the math on how much time football takes up and how many episodes that they air. So he did some calculations in the math on how he'd be able to do both, making a campaign for that. So how cool do you think that would be if he was our starting quarterback and also the host of Jeopardy at the same time and then go win a Super Bowl? Like, how cool would that be?
Yeah, that would be awesome. And there's a couple other athletes that kind of do the same thing. Like John Cena just started the new series of Wipeout. Steph Curry does Holy Moly, which is kind of like a game show, like around golf. Um, I'm trying to think. Like the Rock does stuff. Although he's not a professional athlete, but just kind of people who are set in one industry and then kind of go into like the game show or like the TV industry. Um, Obviously, doing like being careful about it and stuff because how like the Hollywood industry can be a shit show sometimes too. But yeah, Rogers when they did have like a charity episode a couple years back, he was just super smart guy. Did a lot of research on it and did really well. So and I didn't watch the full episode either. I did see a couple clips here and there of it. The one of at the end with the Final Jeopardy, the guy wagered zero money just to ask Rogers whose idea was it to kick that field goal from the NFC Championship game, and Rogers kind of brushed it off and laughed about it. So, but yeah, he seemed like he'd be a good host. Obviously, there's a lot of money in TV. I think before we went live, you're listening to Stephen A. talk about it with how there's life after football, where he doesn't have to play football forever. He doesn't have to put all that strain on his body, and in fact, he'd probably make more money on TV than he would playing football anyway, where he's not putting that strain on his body. But um, and also, like you said, he did a lot of the math of figuring out, oh, I could still play football and still have my off season. I know he likes to golf too, and then like also do Jeopardy on the side. And I'm sure if I think it's Fox who does Jeopardy. I think I want to say. I'm sure if they worked with Rogers too, they could work out something with him where he wouldn't have to change his lifestyle, but he'd still be able to come on and be the host of Jeopardy. So yeah, it'd be really cool to see. Like you said, if I don't know if it's something he'd do after he's done playing football, but it'd be cool to see him do it now. Be a host of a TV show and be a future Hall of Fame quarterback at the same time.
Yeah, he said multiple times he's probably got 5 to 7 years left in the tank to keep playing. Us as Packer fans, we hope that Mark Murphy is an idiot and we do re-sign him and keep him as a Packer for life. I know the one big question mark around that's always kind of around Aaron and his deal is that's the Packers have gotten scrutinized for over and over again is we don't give him any guaranteed money. Like Rodgers has 0 guaranteed money where all these other quarterbacks and all these other teams have 60, 70 million guaranteed where if if you get hurt, you're still making $70 million where Rodgers has kind of gotten the short end of the stick here, and especially after last year kind of shoving it back in Murphy's face after taking Love, like maybe thinking of plans to potentially move on, and then he goes and wins an MVP. So it's kind of like, fuck you. It's still my job. I want to be here. And he says over and over again he'd love to be a Packer his whole career. I feel like we should just lock him down, give the guy some guaranteed money, and let him do Jeopardy. I mean,
Yeah.
from all the stuff that I've heard from many different people who thought he was a douchebag and an uptight guy and all of that, people really got to know him on every Tuesday when he came on the McAfee show last year for his media day. You actually kind of got to see what kind of guy he was, and I feel a lot of people turned out to actually like the dude. He's a down-to-earth guy. He's a funny guy. Little bit of a geek at some points, like nerdy, but it's what you love to see. I mean, guy putting himself out there and stepping up and answering all the big questions, not running from it all. And he's been straightforward with us Packer fans ever since he's been here of what he wants and kind of what he expects. And that's all you can really ask for in your franchise guy is him to be straightforward with you. You just got to hope that upper management ain't trying to force him out the door because we'd love to see him here for his entire career, like, almost kind of like what happened to Favre. And then almost the same thing happened where you drafted a guy who you expected to come in and you put the timetable on the guy. Time runs out and all right, what's going to happen? Are we going to force him out like we did Brett Favre, or are we going to let him finish out until he's done and maybe we get rid of Love because I heard he stinks.
Yeah. Even the backup right now, what's his name? Tim Boyle. He looks better. And
he balled last year in or 2 years ago in the preseason.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I don't know where the Packers' heads are at, but also, I mean, I was young at the time, but I remember there's a lot of chaos around when they drafted Rodgers when Favre was still there. Of why the heck did they go and get this guy? We have Brett Favre. So
because Rodgers is Rodgers, like you knew he was going to be this good. Like that's why they did what they did. You have to get the Green Bay Packers have almost never really had a good backup quarterback, like ever.
No.
Now you had Favre, and then you had Rodgers, who could have stepped in and played if he went down, got hurt. But Favre was just a warrior, dude, and played every single fucking game. And at that point, you got to wait your turn. Like especially Rodgers with the rules changing, all that. That's almost benefited him not to have an extra 5 years of wear and tear on his body, to where he's still sitting pretty good. I mean, the injuries that he has sustained, he could have had way more by now.
Yeah.
Because when you're coming straight out of college, you're not built to take those fucking hits right away. It's going to take a couple of years maybe to get your body fine-tuned to playing the position that you're playing. So he got to like wait his time, get in shape, get everything prepared, kind of learn the playbook, that type of thing. And that's why that's why he's so good.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the Manning, the game manager. He knows everything 2 steps, 3 steps ahead of where things are going to happen. And that's why you see him frustrated a lot when he throws the ball somewhere and the guy's not there. It's like, you're supposed to be there, dude. Like, that's why I've studied so hard to throw it there, because you're supposed to be there. But
Yeah, and like you said, he doesn't get a lot of guaranteed money, and it makes you think, where the hell's that money going? Because the Packers don't go for shit in free agency. They rarely keep stud guys. They let them walk for shit when their contract year is up. If you can't give arguably one of the best quarterbacks of all time his guaranteed money, where the hell are you putting all that extra money? Given I know that the Packers don't have an owner, they don't have a $1 billion guy to just fork out all this money. Technically, the city of Green Bay owns the Packers, so maybe that has something to do with it. But at the same time, figure it out. Like this is a once in a lifetime quarterback, and if you don't treat him right, eventually he's. I mean, I feel like most people their wick is pretty thin, and if you test them a little too much, you have a mess on your hands. Where Rogers is kind of like, all right, like instead of three strikes, I'm out. It's for him, he's at like strike 17 right now, and you never know if the next strike is going to be the one that puts him over the top. And he's like, fuck this, like I'll go somewhere better that actually wants me and is going to give me my guaranteed money and appreciates my worth on this team. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a good thing that the fucking Packers are some of the favorite fans and favorite, like, most adored fan bases in the NFL. Because if it weren't for, I guess, like that love for football that Green Bay has, just because that's really all Green Bay has, who knows if he'd still be here or what the organization would look like. But yeah,
absolutely, and that was a good question that you brought up about where's the money going. Since it is a salary cap league, all the teams can have the same amount of money to spend. Where is like, why do some teams just so shit? Like, obviously, missing on the draft is a big part of that, but never taking that like chance to go get a guy or trade a guy away for some draft picks, or you don't really see these teams at the bottom really making any moves unless it's like year 10 that they've got the number one pick. So they got 10 number one picks now, kind of like what the Browns kind of did with their whole disaster. They've got all those number one picks, and and last year they were a playoff team. So
but that's the thing. It shouldn't take that long to turn a franchise around. I think a lot of that had to do with management and coaching of the Browns, where they finally got a good group there to manage that team. Because rarely do you see, like, even the 49ers, they went from a 4-12 team to being in the Super Bowl
Super Bowl
the year after. So
to
it goes
back
to
to
show,
shit.
yeah. So, um, but yeah, I mean, it shouldn't take that long for a franchise to build back up, especially in the NFL where there's so much turnover of young guys coming into the league, old guys leaving, stuff like that, where obviously it's got to be at the same time it's got to be hard because of the size of the roster of these teams, where you have to make sure that every single one of your 53 guys are producing in some way to help your team go get a Super Bowl. And that's the thing too, is a lot of teams, like, makes you wonder where their mindset's at, as far as if they're in that rebuilding stage. It's like, if you're like, for instance, if you're the Houston Texans or the Jacksonville Jaguars, or even like this year the 49ers or just the Jets, kind of your lower teams of the league, if they don't go into a season with the Super Bowl in mind, like, don't even play that year. Like, don't even fucking put a squad out there. Like, I don't care if you went 2-14 last year, you only won one game. If you start the next season, you're like, well, hopefully we can get a couple more wins and like whatever. It's like, if your mind's not on the Super Bowl every year, then why are you a professional athlete? Obviously, like, so some teams are set up better, but it all starts in believing in it. If you have guys that aren't all in and not giving 100% every Sunday on the field, you're never going to get there. And I feel like
Look
that's
at
the problem for a
Gonzaga,
lot of these
prime
teams.
prime example of that last night. When they're
Yeah.
not putting 100% out there, and Baylor is, you're gonna get smacked in the mouth.
Hmm.
It's not gonna be pretty.
No. Yeah, and that could be a part of it too. Where I mean, the Gonzaga seems pretty like they're pretty like humble. They didn't seem like too cocky and stuff like that. So I don't know if like their ego got to them. Of it's UCLA was really the only team that kind of got in their way momentarily on the way, and they now that they're at the championship, they're satisfied and thought they could walk through it. But at the same time, like there's like you were just on the left side of the bracket. There's a team that fucking worked and smacked everybody on the right side that made it to this point to play you. It's not going to be an easy team to beat, and they just came out looking flat. And when you start a game down 9-0 and 5 minutes in you're down 29-10, I don't care how good you are. If you're one of the greatest college basketball teams of all time, you're not going to come back from that unless the other team starts to shit the bed and or somebody gets hurt or gets in foul trouble. You're not coming back from that unless you're Tom Brady and you're down 28-3. That's your only exception.
Yeah, there's been a handful of crazy moments where stuff happens like that, but yeah, for the most part, you're done when you're down by that much.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to bet. It's tough to battle that back.
One more thing, or we were kind of talking about baseball, or before we got off on a little tangent, but just one more thing with baseball and kind of I guess softball combined, both of them being added to the Olympics this year as events, so that'd be kind of cool to see. Um, where they're kind of interchanging events here and there every year, with kind of the domination of baseball in the U.S. Obviously, there's other countries. Like I know Japan has kind of their own league. That's the only other team. Or that's the only other country I know of that has like kind of a professional league. Do you think it's going to be kind of a lopsided at Olympics where the U.S. puts together a dominant baseball team and kind of like most years for basketball for the Winter Olympics, how the U.S. team kind of just walks over everybody and gets to the championship or the gold medal game every year, and the other team puts up a little bit of a fight, but even still, USA always wins it. Do you kind of see that being the same case for baseball and even softball?
I don't really know much about softball, so I can't. I'm not gonna make a comment on that. But for baseball, honestly, I feel like the Dominican Republic, Cuba, those countries have all the powerhouse baseball players that end up coming to the United States to play for us. So depending on if they choose to play for the United States team, if they do have dual citizenship, if the U.S. throws up like an all MLB squad, that'd be tough to compete against for some of these other countries. But yet some of these other countries, like I just mentioned, they can put together full MLB squads and be right there and competing. So I think the U.S. will be up there. I don't know if it's going to be lopsided like basketball is, because basketball is kind of the one sport where it seems like the United States almost developed basketball, where Europe is like all about like the shooting, but like in the NBA in the United States, it's like a combination of all the parts of the world playing basketball at the same time. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, you'd like to see the U.S. take it home. You'd like to see the U.S. win every single event, being a United States citizen. But I feel like you're going to get some good competition with these new sports added in there. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm definitely excited to see who the United States picks to even be on their team. Is it going to be even some of the top college baseball players? Because you got to be
Yeah,
under 23 years old to be in the Olympics. So
so I know was it right here, Mike Sikosa or uh, Sky. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's last name, but essentially he is managing the U.S. baseball team, like qualifying rounds and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see, I guess, the range that they open it up to, if they're going to allow collegiate level and aged all the way through professional MLB to be able to try out for this team. If you open it up that big, I think the team gets even better than just basically going through the MLB and kind of picking your standout like players every year who are your best pitcher to your best outfielders, stuff like that. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see, I guess, how it does. It looks like it's in the early stages, so it's not even mentioned yet who's going to be on that squad. And but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And I can't remember, is golf added to? Is golf an Olympic event
Yes,
now?
golf is back. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, that'd be cool to see as well. And that'll be kind of a more level playing field because there's amazing golfers from all over the world. Um, so obviously, Rory McIlroy is from the UK. Isn't Collin Morikawa Japan? He plays as US, but he's originally from Japan, right?
I want to say he was born in the United States. His parents, I want to say, were born in a different country.
Okay. Yeah. Otherwise, just like whenever you look at like the standings, the leaderboard on for golf, you always see the flag, the origin of where those teams are from, and you always see a handful of different flags in there. So, yeah, golf will be interesting to see best golfers from all over the world, where they would even golf. I'm sure they got because it's in Tokyo, so wherever that course is going to be.
Yeah, man, it's the Olympics is just a crazy thing because somehow some sports have age like restrictions and other sports don't, like how the NBA, we like for basketball in the Olympics there is no age restriction. Now we just send over our best guys all the time, where some of these other sports have those age restrictions of where it's like I believe for some of the track, I want to say, events, it's like 23, or gymnastics is like 23 years old, something along those lines, where it's like these athletes are limited for the years that you're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, with like gymnastics, they start super young. Like you see like 16-year-olds doing that. Um, yeah, it's with Olympics being every 4 years. Well, at least every 4 years for your specific event. Um, yeah, you have a limited window. I mean, Michael Phelps did however many Olympics for swimming.
Yeah, it says there's no, I just Googled it to see if like anything would come up like specifically, and it just says technically there's no specific age limit for taking part in the Olympic Games. This depends on the international sports federations and the rules it lays down for its sport. So that can vary and change all the time. So
Yeah, but you think if somebody's 40 and somebody who's 20 can do it a little bit better, they're obviously going to go with the 20-year-old.
right, because like you can be a 14-year-old all-American diver and you could be diving in the Olympics, but you're not old enough to run track and field or gymnastics because you have to be 16 years old.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, the Olympics will be in July, so as more stuff comes up with that MLB baseball team, we'll talk about that. Otherwise, we might have briefly mentioned it, but men's soccer team didn't make it for the Olympics again. Um, I don't know what's going on with them. Don't follow soccer too much, but usually not a whole
I
lot of
looked
good things
into
to
it.
say about them.
I looked into it. So all of our top soccer players are technically playing for our World Cup team right now and not the Olympic team. So they set it up to where you couldn't play on both. So us as the United States had to decide World Cup or Olympics, and we chose to stock up our World Cup team, and we're looking. I want to say we're the favorites for the World Cup. So that's why our Olympic team didn't make it, is because we have like the second stringers basically played our Olympic games, where we have all of our top-notch guys on our World Cup squad that's playing. So
Okay,
that's
that
that's
makes
why,
sense.
yeah, that's why we ended up losing to Honduras. I want to say it was 2-1. Yeah, back to the NFL.
Yeah.
Quarterback news here. Sam Darnold was traded yesterday to the Carolina Panthers for 3 picks. This year's 6th round pick and then next year's second and a fourth round pick. Do you think that was a good move for the Jets, as they've pretty much now locked in on Zach Wilson at number 2?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Sam Darnold's still a young guy. He's got a lot of career left to him. Um, hopefully Carolina's a good fit for him. It'd be kind of interesting to see that quarterback battle between him and Teddy Bridgewater.
Well, they came out and said Teddy Bridgewater's they gave him free reins to go find a trade. If he wants to get traded to go try to be a starter somewhere, they told him you can go find one if you want to go do it. I believe his cap hits like $18 million this year, so that's going to be tough for him to go find somewhere with the markets already, with all the teams having to cut all the players and restructure everything that they did to then bring in a quarterback of that much money this late. So I think
Yeah.
it's going to be Bridgewater backing up Darnold, because Carolina did pick up his 5th-year option as well. So they're pretty much saying Darnold's our guy and we're going to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, good for them. Like I said, Jets, whatever their scheme or whatever might have been the coaching, there's brief glimpses of Sam Darnold, like, holy shit, this guy's got an arm, he's got some talent, and then other times it's like, what the hell is he doing out there? So hopefully whatever system he's going to be going into in Carolina works out better for him. He's only in his like 3rd or 4th year, maybe 5th, whatever it is. So yeah, so got a lot of career left to him. Hopefully he can kind of turn that franchise around. Obviously he's got an all-star running back in Christian McCaffrey. He's got some weapons, admirable defense as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see Carolina kind of throw their name into the hat, maybe as kind of the second team now in the NFC South, now that the Saints are kind of in rebuild mode after Drew Brees is gone, and they are one of the worst teams for cap space this year, that they can't really go out and get anybody else. Jameis Winston, again, another guy, still fairly young in his career, getting kind of to the middle part of it at the same time. Yeah, it'll be kind of interesting to see Carolina and the Saints battle out for kind of probably a wild card spot behind the Buccaneers in the South.
Yeah, absolutely. And then with that pretty much locking up Zach Wilson at the number 2 pick for the Jets, then let's move here to number 3. It looks like not John Lynch. Yeah, is it John Lynch?
Yeah,
40,
the GM,
yeah.
49ers GM.
So it looks like he's came out and said basically Mac Jones is going to be the guy that we're bringing in. He fits everything that they kind of want him to do. People are saying Shanahan, Jones reminds him of a Matt Ryan type of style, which he had in Atlanta when he was the offensive coordinator down there and had success. So maybe that's kind of where they're looking to go with that number 3 spot, which is probably a guaranteed deal, as all this stuff about Justin Fields keeps coming out day by day about how he's going to slide. So then that's the number 4 spot we get to with Atlanta. They've came out and said, we want to move down in the draft. We're open to take offers. Rumors have it that the Pats, New England Patriots, are going to try to trade up to 4 to take Justin Fields. Just a couple little quick things about Fields here for people who don't know. And if you haven't been paying attention as of late, people say that he can't read progressions on the field. He's a little bit slow at reading where the play is going to go. He's not a team type of guy. He's not the first one to show up, last guy to leave, that type of thing. Well, it turns out there's an aptitude test that professional athletes take, that these sports organizations make these players take these tests to see how well you retain information, how quick you can learn things, and then do you actually remember it, where you can 5 minutes later remember what we talked about 5 minutes later and bring that whole thing up. So out of this whole thing, 6,500 pro athletes have been tested since 2013, and Justin Fields set the top score. He got a perfect score with a 130 Patrick Mahomes got 108. Josh Allen had 108. Those are just two other scores that I was able to find really quick here. So this guy's a brilliant guy. Seems like he can come in and learn a complex playbook and make something that like a Mahomes, an average guy, because they say anything over 100 is very good. Learning an average playbook would take an average guy a decent amount of time, where Fields would make that look like an easy playbook, and then a complicated playbook, you'd learn that like an average guy learning an average playbook. So guy is very smart. You wonder if he's got a photographic memory out there or something, but do you think that helps solidify Justin Fields? Because so many times people have originally it started out him and Lawrence were even. Then all of a sudden Zach Wilson comes out of nowhere, and now he's the guy who like leaped both of them. Now it's like Lawrence is back in front, Wilson's the guaranteed behind. Now Mac Jones is like sliding up, Trey Lance is sliding up. It's like Justin Fields is still the guy. Like I personally, I've said this multiple times, I think he's going to be the most successful one out of all of the ones that come out of this draft. But if New England goes and gets him, I think that'd be perfect for him to learn behind Cam Newton, as he's kind of got that same body style, plays the same way, and he can learn how Cam did it. Like, Cam was an MVP, man. He went to a Super Bowl. Like, he knows how to play football. He's been a little banged up with his injuries and all that stuff. So, yeah, I think that'd be awesome if New England went up and got him and said, hey, Tommy, we got our new guy here in New England now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Fields is definitely seems like he gets more and more overlooked every day. And it's kind of funny too how you said he's not good at progressions and like reads and stuff like that, like his kind of his draft stock or whatever. But it's also hilarious looking at quarterbacks like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning. They've all like gone back and like looked at their draft stock. It's like this quarterback can't move well in the pocket. This quarterback can't do this well, can't do that well. And then it shows their highlights in the NFL that they're amazing at those things. So it's hilarious to see how critical these scouts and whoever puts together these draft stocks are of these players, to see them come out a couple years later in the league and basically shit on the words that these scouts are saying about them. So obviously, like I feel like scouts more often than not have bad things to say about players than good.
Yeah, it's all blowing smoke, man. Like we talked
Yeah.
about yesterday, I want to say that was with the NFL draft time, and what goes into the draft is basically like America when it gets into politics for who's going to be the new president.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like probably 90% of what you hear is all bullshit about these people. And that's just the way that it works. Teams trying to mess with other teams' heads, and we're not interested in this guy, blah blah blah, and then they snag him the pick right before you were gonna get him, and then they fuck you over on your picks, and you're just like, I don't know what we're gonna do now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's a big game of mind fucking each other, basically.
Yeah.
In the NFL is what it seems.
I agree kind of like what you said with Justin Fields. If so Lawrence goes to Jags, it's going to take him a few years to develop and get that team back on track.
You
Zach
think
Wilson,
so,
well, I mean, he doesn't have a lot of weapons. One guy can't do it all. Remember, we looked at their running backs. They don't have really. They got DJ Chark or DJ Chark. I mean, their defense is still young since Ramsey left. They don't really have a whole lot going on. Like I don't see like Lawrence going in. I think it'd take at least his second year to make them a potential playoff team. He's not going to come in his first year after going 4-12. I could see them maybe getting close to 500 for the year, but they don't have enough for him to just come in and take over. Whereas, like you said, where Justin Fields is kind of set to be the most successful out of the guys in the draft, where Lawrence goes to Jacksonville, kind of one of the lower teams in the league. Wilson goes to the Jets. I don't see him turning that team around in 1 year. It's going to take him 2 or 3 years to turn them around. if the Pats move up to 4 and take Fields, Fields goes on to a team that has Bill Belichick, one of the greatest coaches of all time, a defense that is always admirable, top 10 defense, plus all the free agent signings that the Pats had this year to kind of rebuild that team. Fields is definitely set up the best, like you said, out of all those quarterbacks to go in and be productive right away.
Yeah, but the Jags have 10 picks this year in the draft.
Yeah, but
they have 4 in the top 45. They have 4 picks in the top 45 overall picks.
okay,
So
but
they can
going
go
back,
get a wide receiver. They can go get a running back.
yeah, but going back to our conversation before about the Browns, they had a number 1 pick for how many years, and look how long it took them to turn that team around.
Well, that's their ownership, dude. They just brought in Urban Meyer, who said he's down there to do business, and I don't think he would have taken this job unless he didn't have some sort of plan up his sleeve. He's not going to go there and go 0-16.
No, they're not going to go 0-16. Like I said, they're going to improve. They went, I think, 4-12 last year. I could see them going, well, with no more uh, even 500 teams anymore. I could see them going like 8-9 or 9-8, like kind of like 2 or 3 teams out of the playoff running, and then their second year, potentially be a playoff team again. But I mean, look at like even I guess the closest example of that would be like the Packers going from missing the playoffs for 2 years to going to back-to-back NFC championships. But the Packers organization is set up a lot better for a new coach to come in than the Jags are.
I'm just looking at who they play. They play the Titans, which they'll probably lose. Maybe Colts, up in the air. Texans, that's a win. Bills, depends what you get. Dolphins, I think that they could beat the Dolphins with their 10 picks. Depends, obviously, who they take.
Yeah.
Then I feel like they could have a good game with the Cardinals, maybe lose to the Cardinals. 49ers, they're a question mark. They're going to beat the Broncos. Then they're going to beat the Jets. They're going to maybe beat the Bengals. Houston again. Like, they're at least going
But
to get
look at all these teams
7 wins.
yeah, but look at all these teams they're beating. They're all the bottom of the barrel of the league.
That's their division, man.
Exactly. That's why it's hard to make them a relevant team to, like you said, they could get between probably 6 and 8 wins this season, but that's not going to be enough to make them a playoff team. At least not their first year. Especially with the Colts. I mean, the Titans are a good team. The Colts, if they rebuild and come up better than they were last year.
Well, they brought Wentz in, so that's depends how good Wentz does.
Yeah.
Basically, Texans dumpster fire. They're last in the division.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Jacksonville. Are they going to be that second team
out of the South?
Yeah.
I doubt it.
Like, say Wentz sucks this year, man. Like, say he has another terrible year. I can see Trevor Lawrence and them doing with what their picks and doing better than the Colts. I don't think it's going to happen, but I said I can see it happening if they make the correct draft picks.
But I mean, look at last year. Phillip Rivers is kind of getting to the last year of his career.
And he got him 11 dubs.
Exactly. Their defense got them 11 dubs. That's what I'm saying. If it comes down to Carson Wentz having a terrible year, Jonathan Taylor is going to be in his second year. I could see him going over 1,000 yards. That defense is going to be even better.
I mean, time will tell, right?
Yeah. I mean, like with these newly rebuilt teams, it'll be probably by week 4 we'll be able to look at the Jags and be like, okay, no, they still need a year or two to figure it out. But if they can come out in by week 4, if they're 2-2 or better, then I'd say okay, they got something going on. But if they haven't won a game by week 4 or they've only won one game, it's going to be a slow start for them.
Well, even they could lose 6. Like, what was that the year that the Packers lost and Rodgers came out and did the whole RELAX thing, and we went and won like 7 straight or something like that.
Yeah, they
and
were
made the playoffs.
They were 4-6. They won 6 straight. Yeah, they ended 10-6 for the year.
So it's possible, anything's possible
Yeah,
in sports. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Totally
like
get what you're saying.
I'd love to see him turn around and Jacksonville be relevant again, but I'm not going to hold my breath on it.
Yeah. Some other news in the NFC North: Quentin Dunbar signs a 1-year deal with the Detroit Lions. Good pickup for Detroit. The NFC North, as we know it, is becoming one of the top divisions in football. Obviously, the West, I want to say, is the top division in football, especially now that you got Stafford out there going with Russ and Kyler Murray, and that's probably the top division in football. I'd have to say the North is second. Good deal for the Lions. I mean, sorry, bud, that you got to get shredded by our man, number 12 this year, but might help them out win a couple games.
Yeah. Well, they got a brand new head coach too, and Dan Campbell. So
MCDC.
it's always nice to see. You always see a little bit of rejuvenation whenever a new coach comes in. Everybody's excited for change, buys into a new system. Again, talking about the Packers, went from missing 2 straight playoffs seasons to back-to-back NFC championships with a new coach. So all it takes is a little bit of new blood to lead your team to make things happen.
Yeah, and then over to another one of the teams in the North, the Vikings. Jeff Gladney, young defensive back, turned himself into the police down in Texas after assaulting a 22-year-old female. There were multiple reports that I read. It did say this could have been a family-related incident, or this happened right after a family-related incident. This is going into his second year. Last year he was drafted by the Vikings. He started 15 games. So clearly he was playing for the Vikings, and now he's got himself in a little bit of trouble here. So like we tell everyone, and that's our stance on the show, if he's guilty, we hope that he is charged to the full extent of the law for what he did. If not, hope to see that he makes a comeback, and he's a young dude, so hate to see somebody's career end so soon. But if that's the way the cookie crumbles, that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Kind of sticking with similar news, just recently came out within about a half hour ago. Since the Deshaun Watson case turned criminal, 2 names finally came out for women, just to kind of keep their identity private. I won't say who they are, but if you want to go read the article, you can. But now that there's names tied to these 22 women, obviously it adds more validity to these cases. There was a public news conference today that these 2 came out and talked about it. One of them was actually the first person to file a lawsuit against Watson, and then the other one wrote a letter to Watson that would be read later by her lawyer as well. So yeah, obviously, again, the more this case develops, now that it's criminal as well, not looking good for Watson. Now that there's names and stories and letters and testimonies that come out from these people. I mean, like we kind of were saying with Antonio Brown, his case is still kind of going on as far as whether he's gonna see jail time or what that kind of looks like for him. But I mean, this looks like it's a far more severe case than that, just because I shouldn't say that. The media is making it look like a far more severe case. So hopefully, if it's as serious as it is, he doesn't step on the field this year and he's dealt with accordingly.
Yeah, you were the one to break the news here. I did actually have a chance to see that as well when that broke. Did have a chance to read the letter that one lady that again, to protect her identity, we won't mention here on the show, but like you can go look it up if you want to. Yeah. Looks like Deshaun Watson's football career is over as we know it. He will be going on the NFL exempt list, guaranteed. So he won't be playing anytime soon. And if this is only the first 2 of the 22, I can only imagine what all the other ones are going to come out and say as well. So
Even like you said, there's like 150 women that were reached out to, and only 18 had good things to say about him. So I'm sure as more and more women come out and are comfortable enough to make their name public, that's just going to snowball, and that list is going to get longer and longer. And yeah,
it's over for him.
oh yeah. So
What a shame for that guy.
I know.
But what a fucking loser for doing what he did. Like, anybody who does something like that, man. Glad to see him. He's gonna have to face the music.
Oh yeah. Um, Kind of switching over here, kind of one of my last points for the day. Some NBA news. Kind of the headline we talk about just about every day is the Nets kind of figuring out if they're all the talk or not. James Harden finally got back on the court last night after missing a few games with a hamstring issue. Only played 4 games as it got re-aggravated again. Now he's back out. Kevin Durant is slated to be back this week as well, so we'll see if kind of he's actually healthy, if they limit his minutes, if kind of the same thing happens where he goes out there and re-aggravates his hamstring. I think he had a hamstring injury as well.
Achilles, I think it was.
That was last year when he tore his Achilles.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right then.
Kyrie Irving, he's gone every week for family issues or family reasons, so who knows what's going on with him. I don't think he's ever really been out for an injury. He's just always on like personal leave, which again we talked about that a few episodes back of like obviously if you have a death in the family or something's a super pressing issue, deal with it. But I like we said, the 3 of these guys have only played 7 games together in the 3 months that Harden's been there, and all 4, including Blake Griffin, have yet to be on the court together. So, I mean, I feel like teams are starting to kind of get off the Nets bandwagon as they realize more and more that this team can't stay healthy and can't get that chemistry together.
Yeah, they're running out of time. Running out of time to get it together before you get into the postseason where it's win or go home. Some of these other teams, like our Bucks, they're looking good. Starting to put some stuff together. They're looking like they're coming together as a real squad. I know the Jazz and the Suns, as we don't talk about, or really anybody talks about often, those 2 teams by far look the best, no doubt, in the NBA. Just complete wagons of teams, and they do it collectively as a team. They don't really have the one guy that wears the crown. So I hope we get a new champ this year. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely looking that way. Again, if Nets can't stay healthy, the Lakers can't stay healthy, there's going to be kind of a dark horse team that takes it this year because those are kind of the 2 teams that everybody's been talking about all season. Like you said, the Bucks look good. They play tonight against the Warriors, I believe. Yeah, they play the Warriors tonight at 9:00. Should be a win for them just because the Warriors have been kind of
Their ass.
their ass this year. So yeah, the Warriors have a they're in the middle of their road stance right now. I think that they have a couple more road games. Yeah, they still have one more road game at Dallas before they head home to play the Charlotte Hornets. So yeah, Bucks, so long as they stay healthy going down the stretch. Again, then acquiring Jeff Teague was a good move for them. He looks like he's getting more and more minutes every game and contributing more. So PJ Tucker, I know he has a little. I can't remember if it was like a back injury or something, so he's been out a little bit. But it'd be nice to see him completely take over Pat Connaughton's minutes, because Pat Connaughton isn't as good as he used to be. He just kind of looks sloppy on the court, and PJ Tucker would definitely be a better fit than him. So yeah, hopefully the Bucks kind of are that dark horse team that nobody wants to talk about until conference finals comes and they're one of the 4 teams left in the playoffs, and then people finally put some respect on their name, but they got to make it that far first. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's going to be the tall task for the Bucks this year, is making it that far, with the Nets being the wagon that they're supposed to be here this year going forward.
And even the Heat, kind of a team nobody really talks about. They were just in the NBA Finals last year. They now have Victor Oladipo, which was a good addition for them. They look a little slow starting out since they've acquired him. I don't know if Oladipo's got a lot of minutes or if he even has started playing yet, but yeah, seems like the 2 kind of powerhouse teams are getting less and less relevant every day, which we like to see. So yeah, that's kind of all I had today. I don't know if you had some hockey news for us before we close things out.
Yeah, I did have a couple things in the hockey world to talk about. My Flyers won 3-2 yesterday in overtime against the Boston Bruins. Big W. It's unfortunate that we did give Boston a point, so they still got one to remain. I want to say I think they're 3 or 4 ahead of us. They're 3 points ahead of us right now. We do play them again tonight, so that's going to be a good game to watch. I'm going to have to watch that again here. This week is definitely a big week for the Flyers. They play Boston 3 times. Then they play the top team, the Islanders of the East. So this week is kind of make or break for my squad here. If they can't win 3 out of the 4, it's pretty much over for them at this point, as there's really only 15 or so, 16 games left. They're running out of room. So hope to see them going. Other news, Toronto Maple Leafs goaltender Jack Campbell. I know the guy. I've hung out with him a few times. He's won his 9th straight in a row for the Toronto Maple Leafs, tying their franchise record for goaltending. So shout out to him. Badgers alumni as well. I don't know if I said that the first time when I mentioned his name, but great to see. Love to see Badgers alumni tearing it up in the NHL. We got a powerhouse at the college hockey level, so it's good to see those guys move on and make a name for themselves at the pro. Buffalo Sabres top guy left that they have on their team, Taylor Hall, was a top draft pick years ago. Kind of has been a suitcase in the league. Did have an MVP season a couple years ago with the Devils. He has now been scratched. It looks like Buffalo's keeping him out all week long this year. They're going to try to move him to a cup contending team as he provides some offensive power. So that should be a good move for Buffalo. They got a young squad. This year's kind of already over for them, as they went on that huge 18-game skid that they went on. That pretty much, in a 52-game season, you lose 18 in a row, you're pretty much out. You can pretty much kiss the season over at that point. So good to see Buffalo moving a guy that deserves a shot to go get a ring and become a Hall of Famer. So good to see that news. Anything else hockey related that I had?
If you want to briefly mention it, you're talking about Badger alumni. You want to kind of talk about a potential guest we're having on this week?
Oh yeah, one of my good buddies who played for the Wisconsin Badgers hockey team a couple years ago. He was their team captain. He might be coming on the show here. I'm not going to name drop yet, just because we kind of want to keep that a little bit of a surprise for the guests here. But yeah, a couple hints. He was a former Wisconsin Badgers hockey captain, former player. He's a Wisconsin native, so that makes it a little bit even cooler. And buddies with the guy, played hockey with the man, so it's pretty cool to have him coming on the show. So yeah, I'm really, really excited for that interview. Be a good time to sit down with a good buddy and shoot the shit.
Yeah. And kind of sticking with the topic of guests again, we're having a couple other guests on this week. We announced yesterday on Instagram for golf. Go check them out. That's PHOR Golf. Some guys out of Arizona want to come on the show, talk about golf, talk about their company and stuff. So we plan to have them on this week as well. And then another guest, which we plan to have on Thursday as well. So kind of going to be a busy day for us Thursday. But Josh Mayer, for those of you who know him for his TikTok series of SpongeBob Ball for the Kids and playing a par 4 with random objects, reached out to him last week, and he said he'd love to come on the show as well. Again, with the Masters this week, that's kind of why we have some golf-themed guests on. So, yeah, excited for that. So definitely stay tuned. Watch out for those episodes. They'll be kind of shorter episodes, kind of like how we usually talk for a little over an hour about sports. Be a little bit of a shorter episode talking about news. We'll have our interviews with those guys. And, yeah, look forward to having more guests on in the future from other industries, hockey, maybe some NFL. Eventually NFL if we can get big enough, but just football in general to have some guys on.
Yeah, it's always cool to be reached out to and people just appreciating what we do as far as we work pretty much around the clock on this podcast. We don't really sleep too much as we're always trying to make everything better for the content for all of you guys, which is why we pretty much do all of this, is for the people that come in every day and watch our show and all that. So yeah, really excited to get those interviews underway here. It's going to be a cool experience to see how those go. And yeah, like we said, can't wait to have more interviews in the future and see wherever that takes us.
And for those of you who watch the show, if you have anybody who a friend, a family member, whoever it might be that might have played either collegiate or even professional that you think that they'd like to come on the show and talk, reach out to us. Our email is on our YouTube page. Otherwise, it's just in a league of their own podcast at gmail.com. Feel free to reach out to us that way. Otherwise, DM us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, comment on a YouTube video, whatever it might be. We're kind of looking to mesh this podcast into our typical sports news, but also once a week, twice a week, if we can get to that point, have on somebody to talk about a specific sports industry. So, yeah, let us know if you know of anybody that'd love to come on.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to make this as real and as authentic as we can, kind of conversations, talking about things with you guys and not really being filtered through this whole sports media industry that goes on. That's one of the main reasons why we do this show, is because we kind of don't have that boss or that person to tell us what we can and can't say about certain things on this. So anybody, like Collin just mentioned, anybody with any sports background that would like to come on the show, feel free to reach out. And like I said, if that sparks our interest, we'll reach out and we'll set something up to make that happen for you guys. So that's all I got for today. Yeah, that's really it.
Yeah, so we'll be back tomorrow afternoon. It's about the same time. Episodes usually go up about 4 o'clock every day on YouTube. Remember, if you want to just listen to us, you can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all that good stuff to kind of keep up on our highlights for each episode, any out of the episode news, any stuff that breaking news that happens. We usually try to make sure we put it up there. So yeah, appreciate you guys listening today, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. See everybody.